I think 100%.
That sounds like Idaho. Neighbor for a while.
I think I'm a 16-year-old, and I care about where our country is going. If people don't realize that here in the United States,
there is no more effective voice in this country for the protection of our Second Amendment rights than the voice of women. You are the ones who will give the entire story and a completely different perspective, because let's face it, we are the gentler sex. Keep in mind that the popular perception among the general public of those who shoot and hunt and love firearms is that they are a beer-bellied, ass-scratching, camo-wearing redneck asshole. That's a fact. Well, we can change that simply by you stepping out in front without waiting anyone to ask you to do it. Step out there and do it.
Near Flint, Michigan, many women have been following the NRA's advice.
I killed him.
Yeah, you got him all right. You're a hell of a shot.
I got it. I hit the target.
You're shooting at the right target now. Listen up.
When your life's in danger and you know it, you have to respond. You cannot hesitate, because the criminals do not hesitate.
Mike Hoban is a former military arms instructor who now teaches civilians to shoot.
Your finger goes on your trigger, you simulate fire, finger comes off the trigger, you engage the safety, and then you holster it. Okay, if you're not prepared to kill, you got no business pointing a gun. 1 out of every 3 women in America are victims of a sexual assault. That's why it's very important that women learn how to protect themselves, and a handgun is the ultimate in feminine protection. And anytime you can put lead into a rapist, you put as much as you can. Your objective is to knock him down and incapacitate him, to put his dick in the dirt, okay, and make sure he don't get back up. Okay?
Hoban is well aware that a concealed weapons law, CCW as it's called, will put many more fingers on the trigger in Michigan.
Okay? And having a CCW permit doesn't pin a badge on you. If you come upon a situation where you're not trained to handle it, if you're in a store and there's a robbery going down, an armed robbery going down, you do not want to just automatically go for your gun, because if you're not trained properly, you can get more people killed than you can save. Okay? I'm not trying to say don't do it. I'm trying to say use your discretion.
But Hoban is an NRA member too, and politics eventually creep in.
Is that you cannot, in this state, use deadly force to protect your money or your property. It is only to protect life and limb.
Then how come to get a CCW permit, it's usually only if you carry large amounts of money or have certain property to protect?
I'm glad you asked
Where
that
is
question.
the sense in that?
I'm glad you asked that question, and I find that very ironic myself. If you do not have a certain amount of money, make certain bank deposits, own a business or a person of position, you don't have the right to carry a gun in this state. That's a bunch of garbage. The Cropsey bill is how we're trying to change that.
Star witnesses.
We as a women's group...
2 women whose emotional appeals had swayed crucial votes in several states already.
Needs-based bill, and as far as I'm concerned, anybody who desires the right to defend themselves has a need. No one can prove need right up until 5 minutes before they're attacked. I've been attacked a couple times. And when I sought to carry a weapon, when I sought to carry the best-known tool for defense, my government wanted to label me a criminal.
A few years ago, my parents and I went to a local cafeteria.
Susanna Gracia Huff is a Texas chiropractor whose personal tragedy has made her a believer.
We had just finished eating, and all of a sudden, this truck comes crashing through the window. And then we heard gunshots. Now, this guy wasn't spraying bullets. He was walking from one person to another, pointing and pulling the trigger, pointing and pulling the trigger. And I thought, I got this turkey. I reached for my purse, and then I realized that a few months earlier, I made the stupidest decision of my entire life. My gun was 100 yards away in my car. because in the state of Texas at that time, it was a felony offense under certain circumstances to carry concealed. So there was my gun 100 yards away, completely useless to me. 23 people were killed that day. And I guess in closing, I can tell you with all my heart that I would much rather be sitting in jail with a felony offense on my head. You can have my chiropractic license and have my parents alive today. Thank you.
Who was fed up with playing the victim. Now this self-defense guru wants to empower women against crime by putting pistols in their purses. Suzanne Rico has the story.
Celebrities in peril, stalkers on the prowl. If you're the target, who you gonna call? She's sharpshooter to the stars. Her name, Paxton Quigley. She packs heat and teaches others how. A terrifying experience turned her into a gun guru.
I came from an anti-gun family, but a friend of mine was raped in her own home and she had time to call 911, and the police came a half hour too late. I said to myself, this is not going to happen to me.
For $150, she runs her students through their paces. Her mission, arm and protect.
We're not here to train you to be killers. We're here to teach you how to stop the attacker.
Her celebrity gun pals have included Hollywood's Robert Wagner and Jimmy Stewart. She was even Yoko Ono's bodyguard.
No one would ever think that I would be the bodyguard. They're always looking for, the big guy out there.
At a petite 110 pounds, Paxton can't rely on brawn. Instead, she bets on her wits, bullets, and deadly aim.
Not bad.
Entertainer Vicki Lawrence met Paxton on her own TV show and is now a crack shot.
A woman understands that you're scared to death to unload.
Actress Crystal Chappelle is another convert. Not only does she feel safer, but she can now take a shot at roles that intimidated her in the past.
I end up getting cast as kind of the femme fatale, so I'm always shooting somebody. And normally they give you a gun with blanks, but I never really felt comfortable with it.
But not all of Paxton's students are shooting stars. Many are just ordinary people living in fear.
The first time I was kidnapped and raped, and recently I was carjacked.
After her brutal assaults, Eileen Barkley decided to wrap herself in a security blanket of cold steel. Paxton made her feel comfortable with lethal force.
I feel like I'm more in control.
After all the stories that I heard about these women being assaulted, you have this attitude of it can't happen to you, and it can.
Crystal! Hurry! Low! Get that gun up! Low! Take those bullets in there! He's coming! He's coming out of the house! You've been right!
Who are the better students, men or women?
Women are better. They're better shooters, and that's because they have good hand-eye coordination.
Paxton takes us to the range to demonstrate. Her favorite weapon, the .357 Magnum, because of its stopping power.
Don't look at the target at all.
Now, where am I aiming?
You're aiming for the center of mass, where the heart, the lungs, and the spinal cord are.
After just an hour of instruction, it's easy to understand why Paxton is so popular with women. Her confidence inspires confidence, whether you're a victim fighting back or a celebrity seeking security like Crystal. She's now certain
that I can stay calm with a gun in my hand.
And if you can't stay calm, Paxton says, don't pack a pistol.
Because if you have a gun and there's somebody going after you, and if you hesitate, they'll come after you.
Have you ever shot somebody?
No, I have never shot anyone. No, and I hope never to have to shoot anyone. But I can tell you that I would if I had to.
Quigley was quick to remind us her class first emphasizes alternative methods of self-defense. Quigley says use of a firearm should always be an absolute last resort.
We're bringing her back a couple times this year to do additional training, so I would really encourage you to get your name on the list here tonight, because those who came tonight will get first crack at the classes that we'll be doing in the fall. And it is an incredible experience to my adrenaline is still pumping. We did some stuff that I had never even imagined, and I feel, you know, having taken my original training from Mike Hoban, who has trained thousands of women aged 9 to 90 in the years that he's been working with Michigan Weapons Safety Association. And that was a tremendous experience, but the advanced training was just absolutely incredible. One of the things that Mike did in the course of training women was the 40 women that trained at the Sweetest Day shoot out in Shiawassee County that was filmed by the Discovery Channel for their series on guns. So we had a whole lot of ladies training out there. And part of the reason, one of the reasons why I didn't get started on time was I was out speaking with a reporter from the Detroit Free Press. And he asked me, no, it wasn't Hugh McDermott. One of the things that he asked me is, why is Grassroots sponsoring a women's empowerment seminar and training classes for women? And that is because, as you know, Grassroots is absolutely committed to seeing concealed carry legislation, seeing the concealed carry laws in this state reformed to make it possible for law-abiding citizens to get a permit to carry if they so choose. And we believe, because we've been shown in the other states across the country, and there are 31 other states that grant their citizens these permits that we are currently denied here in Michigan. There are 31 other states. And in each of those states, it was the women that made it happen. We have got to take this issue away from the guys. We've got to change the face of the issue. It is not an issue of the angry white male. It is an issue for women. Women are the victims of crime in the vast majority of the cases. Women are they don't call it the great equalizer for nothing, my friends. We are the ones who need to be able to protect ourselves and our children. We know that the cops can't do it. And more often than not, you know, now that we're out there in the workplace, coming home late at night, we are the ones who need to be able to protect ourselves more than any other segment of society. And we are the ones who are going to have to step forward and pick up the ball and run with it and make it happen here in Michigan. So we are determined to make this a woman's issue. And it's not the issue of the angry white male. It is the issue of the angry female who is tired of being the victim, who is tired of being told not to resist an attacker. I mean it sincerely, my friends. I did a radio interview with an individual from Handgun Control, who shall remain nameless, and he said to me, well, you know, law enforcement says that, you know, if you're attacked, the best thing that you can do is just submit. Submit. You know, submit. In a world where rape can be a death sentence, in a world where if you don't have bruises to show that you did indeed resist, you know, you're going to get drugged through the court system, and some smarty-pants lawyer is going to say that you asked for it. We have to resist every step of the way, and the best way to do that is with a weapon. And so that's one of the reasons why Grassroots has picked this up, and we are working to make women the face of the issue. So once again, I would encourage you to sign up, you know, on one of the sign-up sheets at the two Grassroots tables, because when the hearings happen in Lansing again over concealed carry reform legislation, we need to pack that testimony room with women. Okay, I want to have at least the first 5 rows loaded, so to speak, with ladies who are there to testify and say, give me my rights. No longer deny me the ability to protect myself. Beyond that, how many of you, this is the first time you've ever come to a Grassroots event? Okay, good. And you heard about it on Mark Scott's show or Ted Nugent? Or you got the both guys? Okay, great. Ted has been super, one of our greatest supporters. And Mark, of course, has been with us just from the very beginning. Let me give you just a little bit of background information on Grassroots. We were founded in 1994, and Grassroots' mission is to target and remove from office any elected official who would deny our right to keep and bear arms. And we are a nonpartisan organization. We don't care whether you're Republican, Democrat, Independent, Libertarian. Doesn't matter. We are about targeting, so to speak, elected legislators, okay, who would deny us the right to keep and bear arms. And we do this through a system of... You got the envelopes back there on the table, Bruce? Okay. On the... do you want to pass them out? This weekend. So we got 40 more women trained in how to handle their weapons with Paxton Quigley over the weekend, and we're very, very proud of that. The ladies that I mentioned, yes, Renee, did I miss something?
Yes, on the envelopes, don't be quick to pass them along. There's also a little square if you'd like to be a volunteer to Grassroots. If you can't give money or pledge money, be a volunteer. We can use your help. So.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yes, volunteers are the heart of our organization. The board of directors and the volunteers work very closely to make things like this and our other events, the gun shows, come off. So yes, please, if you could spare an hour or two, we could use your help. Alrighty then. I want to introduce you to two of the other warrior women, Arlen Afton and Joanna Sturgeon, to give you just a little bit, about a couple minutes of information on their organizations. And first of all, is Arlen, you're over there, okay. Arlen Afton came all the way from Grand Rapids, as she does on a regular basis. She is one of my fellow meet and greet the legislators, and she's with Families of Michigan for Concealed Carry. Arlen, come on up and say a couple words. She loves this part.
Hi, everybody. I'm with Families of Michigan for Concealed Carry, and when my husband and I started this organization approximately a year ago, we set out to keep people informed. That's mainly what our organization is about. We both testified at the hearings in Lansing when Mr. Cropsey's last legislation was in the committee hearings. And one thing that we heard from a lot of representatives was, if all these people want concealed carry, where are they? Why aren't they writing us? Why aren't they calling us? And Mr. Cropsey was deluged with people calling him. So much that he had to put a recording on his telephone and they weren't even answering it anymore. And yet people weren't calling their own legislators and letting them know. That's what we have set out to do, is activate people on an individual basis, because we have national gun organizations that do a lot, mostly on a national level. They do get involved on a state level, but the grassroots level is really where we need the activation. We need individuals who are going to write their legislators, talk to their sheriffs in their own counties, talk to their own prosecutors, because if a legislator has a sheriff and a prosecutor that say, well, there's nobody in our county that's protesting the gun boards or raising a fuss in our county, we don't want you to vote for this legislation. The legislator is not going to vote for it. And this is what we're hearing from the legislators in Lansing. We need to be vocal. We need to let them know what it is that we want and do it in a way that is not in your face, but giving them the facts. That's another thing that we found, is that a lot of the legislators are very uninformed on this issue. And that's one of the things that we strive to do, is educate people on what is happening, not only on state level, but in the local county gun boards. We have a yearly subscription to our newsletter It's only $12 a year. We try to keep the price low so anybody can afford to do it. And we put in there information on what's happening on local levels, state levels, the national level, and globally. Because the UN, I don't know how many of you are familiar with the conference in Vienna a couple of weeks ago. The UN is after not only my guns and your guns, but everyone's guns. And here in the United States, those of you that had picked up our information off the table back there, there's a letter in there from the U.S. Justice Department, Ronnie Edelman, stating that the United States government does not recognize any individual's right to own firearms, possess firearms of any kind. And this is, you know, a lot of people say, well, we've been hearing that for years. Well, they're putting that in writing. And just last week, Mr. Lautenberg, who some of you are familiar with, who introduced a domestic violence gun ban for life, he introduced a bill a couple of weeks ago that bans concealed carry in the United States, except for law enforcement. We need to be active, contact our legislators on both the state level and the national level. And if you subscribe to our newsletter, we'll try to keep you informed. We try to give people tips on what to say, who to contact, and so forth, and let people know what's going on all over. So thank you very much for your time. 24, Grand Rapids, Michigan. The zip is 49501-2524. Our telephone number is area code 616-243-4790. And our email address is ccw@triton, triton.net, N-E-T. Thank you very much. Public speaker.
I love it. Okay. Joanna, you with us? Real quick, I'd also like to introduce you to Joanna Sturgeon, one of the other warrior women with weapons. And that's our working title of our group. And come on up, Joanna, and tell us just a little bit about what you're doing with MGO. Joanna Sturgeon. Well, I'm here tonight representing two facets of my multi-talented personality. MGO is Michigan Gun Owners, and it is the educational aspect that I'm involved in. We promote people to get involved, we've initiated a Right to Keep Your Right campaign, where we encourage our members to send postcards, write personal letters, and basically get in the face of their legislators to let them know what we want and how we want it and how important it is for them to listen to us, or perhaps they really don't want to be our legislators very long. And it's working. We've gotten a number of responses back. Our members have come forward and handed us letters that their various representatives and senators have responded. Some of the responses are very good and encouraging. Some are kind of what we expected to get from them, and we keep a list of that, and we will make sure that the membership is aware when election time comes, just what kind of response certain people are giving us. We are going to be posting our responses to make them available to the membership as we get a little bit more compiled. Right now, you know, there's not as many as I'd like to have to be able to hand out to people, but just as soon as we have that, you know, put together, it'll be in your hands. We are desperately seeking for volunteers to get involved. If you want to do anything, all you have to do is be in touch with us. Believe me, we can put you to work. And it's fun, it's interesting. We do a lot of different special events. We do some joint endeavors with grassroots, and we do a lot of our own just on the grounds of Michigan Gun Owners. We have representation at the different gun shows. We can help you
find all the different channels that you need to be involved in or need to seek after, whether it be legal type questions or just want to get out and be able to get connected with ranges that you can work with, or just people like-minded. The number to reach us at Michigan Gun Owners, there's a 313 number, which is 313-427-7629. And there is one in the 810 area code, which actually has the 248 area code now. They've just recently changed that. It's 248-478-7686. That number can be answered by a person in the daytime and by a machine in the evening, but we do check it, so you would be able to get connected with someone right away. There is also the instructional aspect that I'm involved in through Michigan Weapons Safety Association, where we do provide training and instruction, both in basic instruction or even some advanced instruction. We do offer CCW training, so if someone is interested in that, we can hook you up to Michigan Weapons Safety Association. In the very near future, I'm going to be initiating a pilot program, which is specifically detailed for women. It's going to be titled Survive, which stands for Sisters Understanding the Realities of Victory in Violent Encounters, that deals with both, all aspects of self-defense, not just firearms. So if you are interested in getting involved in that, and you're not really sure you want to get involved with firearms, that's fine. I can set you up however you need to feel confident about involving yourself in your own empowerment. So the number that you can reach for that one is also 248-478-7686. And that again is Michigan Weapons Safety Association. So if you have any questions, someone will be out in the lobby, or I will, and I can answer your questions. And I thank you very much.
I'd also like to just introduce, I would like to introduce to you a state representative who has been with us on the gun issue from the very beginning. She stands solidly for the rights of all citizens, male and female, black, white, red, doesn't matter, to be able to protect themselves, and she is not even the slightest bit hesitant to get in front of anybody and declare her support on that issue. She's one of the bravest ladies I know, State Representative Deb Wyman.
Thank you for that warm welcome. I'm honored and privileged to be here and have this opportunity to participate in this forum. I thank Grassroots for organizing this event. The leaders of Grassroots have proven their effectiveness in elections, as you've heard earlier, most notably through the defeat of State Representative Jim Ryan. Believe me when I tell you that your efforts are still being talked about in Lansing. And I will tell you that it is true what you heard earlier about the Democrats acknowledging that the gun rights activists were instrumental in defeating Jim Ryan. The Republicans are not so quick to admit that, and I'll tell you, just Thursday I was on the floor, and one of the people in the House who is suspected of becoming the next Speaker of the House if Republicans take control came up to ask me if I really believe that. And it's just amazing to me that some Republicans will put their head in the sand. I'm term limited. I've run 3 times for the House of Representatives, and I can't run for my seat again. Amazingly enough, my senator has announced that he's seeking retirement, and I announced that I'll be running for the Senate, and the very next day, Jim Ryan announced that he'll be running against me. Some guys never learn. We should find it encouraging that the Hollywood set has finally almost come around on the issue of concealed carry. Fans of the NBC ER series were able to see Dr. Mark Green defend himself on the street against criminals in the season finale last Thursday. On the show, Dr. Green had been the victim of a brutal assault in the hospital's emergency room. As a result, he'd become isolated and fearful of society. In the last episode, he was accosted by 3 hoodlums on the Chicago L. Using his 6-hour 9mm handgun, he scared off his attackers without firing a shot, which is, by the way, most violent confrontations are resolved when there is a handgun involved. In the next scene with Dr. Green, we see him running breathlessly through the streets of Chicago, stopping briefly to toss his trusty and expensive gun in the river. Now, if that were me, I would go home, clean the gun, and write 2 checks. One to the National Rifle Association and one to Grassroots. We're here today because we believe that the right to self-defense is paramount. In the legislature, we've tried to bring shall-issue concealed weapon licenses to the state of Michigan, and to date, we've failed. The reason that this event today is so important is that it underscores the key to bringing shall-issue CCWs to law-abiding citizens here in Michigan. There is a perception in Lansing that only right-wing, redneck, racist extremists want CCWs. We all know that that is ridiculous. Yet that is the perception that has derailed this legislation. If we want to win this fight, we have to mainstream the issue of right to carry. And what better way to mainstream this issue than to give the average soccer mom the right to protect herself and her children. Women have been the target of violent crimes for far too long. We are marked as easy targets by vicious scum. We are stalked, we are robbed, we are beaten, we are raped, and we are killed. Why? Because there is a perception that we are weak and that we will not fight back. We're easy prey for a predator because many times we don't strike back. And I submit to you the best way to turn the tables on criminal predators is to arm law-abiding citizens. When the criminals of this state fear armed resistance from women, we will see a welcome drop in violent crime against women. We need to show the members of the Michigan legislature that we need CCWs for our protection and that of our families. We must not give them the impression that we are seeking some sort of death wish vendetta. We need lawmakers to meet the nurses who work late at night. We need lawmakers to meet the single moms who have to work odd hours to put food on the table. We need lawmakers to meet the professional women who must drive alone to meet clients. In other words, lawmakers need to meet you. Call your representatives and senators, ask them to meet with you in Lansing or meet with you during their local business hours. Be polite and reasonable with them, even if they seem reluctant to come on board. Explain to them that you are afraid of crime. Explain to them that you are tired of feeling afraid. Express to them that one of the most cost-effective ways to reduce violent crime in this state is to allow law-abiding citizens to defend themselves. Law-abiding citizens to defend themselves. Unless we're willing to pay the taxes to allow every woman a personal armed guard with the police department, we are going to have to be willing to allow women to defend themselves. Representative Alan Cropsey has asked me to inform you of current status of concealed carry in Lansing. He's put together a bipartisan work group with members from both parties, trying to reach a consensus on what a bottom line legislation would be that we could collect a majority of votes for. He tells me that things are going very well. I'm not at liberty to share details, but we expect that we'll have a package ready for introduction, possibly before we break for our summer break or immediately upon return when we return in the fall. If you'd like to contact my office to be added to the list so that you are aware, I have a toll-free number, but to keep it easier so you don't have to write it down, there's flyers out on the table that have my toll-free number, my address. You can contact me via the internet. I have a web page and an email address.
Say it so it's on the video.
For the video. toll-free, 800-555-5021. You can write to me in Lansing at the state capitol, P.O. Box 30014, Lansing, Michigan, 48909, or via the internet on the World Wide Web, www.wyman.org. Our cause will remain potent in Lansing and in Washington as long as you remain involved in the political process. You need to keep in touch with your legislators. You need to organize and get rid of those politicians who would leave you defenseless in the streets. And don't forget to support those of us who have been fighting on this issue. The gun grabbers in Lansing have been looking for the defeat of a pro-gun legislator as justification for passing firearms restrictions that would make martial law look like anarchy. Thank you for your time and your commitment and your effort in coming here today. Working together, we can join the citizens of most other states that have the right to protect ourselves and loved ones. Thank you and God bless you.
Do you believe it? Jim Ryan's going to run against her. I heard through the grapevine that he had approached another local gun organization. He didn't have the courage to come to Grassroots about what he has to do to get back the support of gun owners. And generally speaking, the response was, against Tim Wyman? Are you kidding me? I mean, it's just ridiculous. Anyway, but it's going to be a tough fight for Deb in the Republican primary, nonetheless. So if you're from her district or want to give her some time, I would certainly encourage you to do so. In any political campaign, I'm here to tell you volunteers are worth their weight in gold. And so walking the streets and all the things that the volunteers do can make all the difference. And that's one of the ways that we took out Jim Ryan, was by putting tons of people on the streets. MGO headed up that project, having people walk the district. Okay, it is now my distinct pleasure to introduce a lady who, well, you know, when I first met her, I thought maybe she was just the wind beneath the wings of one of the more powerful men in our community. But since I've gotten to know her a little bit, I understand that she is indeed a very, very powerful woman in her own right. And to be married to this guy, I think you'd have to be. You gotta be tough. And of course, I'm speaking of Shemaine Nugent, who has been every bit as involved in these issues as her husband has, oftentimes working behind the scenes, writing for their magazine, speaking to groups like ours, working with women, and she also teaches aerobics too, which you'll be able to tell when she gets up here. I guess her background is in broadcast. You're on the radio, right? Yeah, yeah. And that's how I understand you met the man. Yes? And so it is with great pleasure that I introduce to you this evening the Queen of the Forest, Shemaine Nugent.
Good evening. How are y'all doing tonight?
Good. Great.
There is one thing I've learned since I met and married Ted, which happened about the same time, that I've learned to grow a backbone, which I didn't have before. I kind of, you know, used to let people walk all over me, and I've learned through Ted that you have to have somewhat of a spine to be able to put up with some of the things, especially that he does. And it is kind of tough, especially when most of the controversy comes from your own neck of the woods. And that's what gets to be real hard. We started Ted Nugent United Sportsmen about 8 years ago, and we spent a lot of time and energy and money trying to promote hunters' rights and the shooting, hunting, outdoor sports, and it seems like a lot of the controversy comes from within our own people. And I hope that we can somehow reach beyond that point. And 8.5 years ago when I met and married Ted, I had never been around guns or bows and arrows. I'd never been around rock and roll, but that's another story. I think I'll have to write a book about that. But I wasn't an anti-hunter. I was a non-hunter, sitting on the fence post, waiting to be swayed one way or another. Fortunately, Ted never handed me a gun or a bow and arrow and said, "Here, I want you to use this. I want you to learn how to use this." That's like when somebody asks you to do something or tells you not to do something. Like, don't eat that chocolate cake, it's going to go right to your thighs. Has anybody ever had anyone say anything like that to them? Yes? When somebody says something like that to me, I'm going to eat that chocolate cake just out of spite. And I think that the desire to not eat the chocolate cake or to not do something or to try to do something has to come from within. Deep down inside, you have to desire that effect that not eating the chocolate cake will have on you. Then, and only then, you'll have the motivation to skip that chocolate cake. In high school and in college, I was about 20 pounds heavier than what I am now. And I dieted and I exercised and I tried everything. And it wasn't until I stopped dieting and I thought about the effects that dieting would have and I learned how to live healthy that I actually lost weight. And when we'll have an opportunity to talk about nutrition and living healthy and eating healthy, which is basically what hunting is all about, I think. I mean, why would you want to go hunting when you can buy meat and it's wrapped in a nice package for you at the store? Why would you want to do that? Because venison is lean and it's healthy, it's chemical-free. And at the Queen of the Forest Outdoor Education Program, we'll talk about living healthy, eating healthy, and we'll talk about exercise. Yeah, we need to be strong. We need to be able to provide for ourselves and our families in case of a natural disaster, like the ice storm we had a few months ago. At the Nugent house, we were without power for 5 days. And, you know, I kind of like that because we were prepared. I had always saved bottled water, and we relied on ourselves. We didn't have to go to the store for anything. Although Ted hates when I have candles like all around my bathtub. He hates that smell, but he liked the candles when we didn't have electricity. We could count on them. But those are some of the things that we'll talk about. Being able to be self-sufficient, self-reliant, and not having to rely on somebody else to turn on your water or your power, your electricity. Being able to sustain yourself and your family. Exercise has always been fun for me. It's always been easy for me to do. But I know for some people, maybe some people who were, when they were younger, they didn't have to worry about what they ate and they never gained a pound. But you know what? When those people get older, their metabolism slows down, and eventually they're going to have to learn how to exercise. What about people like me who had never been around guns or bows and arrows when we were growing up? How do we learn about those types of things if we don't have a spouse who hunts like mine does, or who shoots like mine does, and does just about enough for everybody? How do people learn about that? By the year 2000, 50% of heads of households will be women, single women who have to protect their families. And even if you are married, women, I'm speaking mainly to you, even if you are married, there's going to be a time when you're going to be alone, and you're going to have to protect yourself. You're going to have to rely on yourself to be strong and take care of your family. I mean, why would you want to go hunting when you can buy meat at the store? That's what a lot of people thought. That's what I thought when I first met Ted. Again, I wasn't an anti-hunter. I was a non-hunter. I just thought there's enough of you guys out there that can do it for me. So why should I go out and do it? But you know, I learned a lot about hunting and about the shooting, hunting, outdoor sports when I met Ted. And again, he never pushed me into hunting, which I think was the best thing he could do. When I first met him, I had a small video production company that primarily produced video yearbooks for high schools. And he asked me to follow him around one time with a video camera and just videotape his hunt. And through the eye of the camera, I learned firsthand
about Mother Nature. I learned about wildlife habitat, and I learned about the effects, the devastating effects that disease and parasites and human encroachment can have on wildlife and Mother Nature. And, you know, I saw Ted come in every night and rave about the sunset or the sunrise or talk about chipmunks and squirrels. But he didn't talk about getting a deer. And week after week after week, when I first married him, he'd talk about the great sunset or the great sunrise or just Mother Nature. But there wasn't any talk about killing a deer. And I thought, wait a minute, this is not what I thought hunting was all about. I thought you guys just went out there and killed stuff. Right? That's what a lot of people think. And that's what I thought when I met Ted. I mean, here I was, married to the Motor City Madman, a guy who is adamantly opposed to drugs and alcohol, pro-hunting, pro-gun, and totally into rock and roll, obviously. Everything I knew nothing about. But that's where a lot of women stand. We don't know about some of these things. We don't have the opportunity to have men in our life show us about these things. And so I decided to try it for myself, which is the best way. Fortunately, I had Ted there to guide me. So one day, after learning how to shoot a bow and arrow, I went out for myself and got into a tree stand, and there I was, head to toe in baggy camouflage. Ted's pants rolled down at the waist and belted, and then rolled up at the bottom and taped around my arm so that I could shoot my bow and it wouldn't hit my arm. And I saw, as I was sitting in my tree stand, M&M-colored treetops swaying in the wind. I saw a beautiful sunset. I saw chipmunks and squirrels. And I saw leaves spiraling to the forest floor. And I thought, you know, that's what hunting is all about. And it just seems to me that hunters have gotten the wrong image. This is what hunting is about, being with Mother Nature. And some of you will be surprised to hear that, yeah, I saw my husband, the Motor City Madman, get all choked up about a beautiful sunset. Hunters have feelings. And I think a lot more of the hunters that I meet have more feelings than a lot of people who don't hunt. More hunters have more empathy for animals than a lot of non-hunters do. And I think that's what we need to do, to go out and educate people. And when I was pregnant 7 years ago, I started getting migraines. And I got them about once a week. And so when I went out hunting, funny thing happened. I started going out every day, and I enjoyed serenity. And I was told by doctors all over the United States, you need to get rid of the stress in your life. You need to close your bedroom door, put these tapes in that have the whales and, you know, the seashore rushing up against the water. You need to put those in the tape player and just listen, block out all the noise. And okay, I tried that. Well, that didn't work. When I went out hunting, guess what? I went from having a migraine every week, one every week, to having one a month. And there are a lot of women like me out there who are still sitting on the fence, waiting to be swayed one side or another. And it's not going to take much. It might just take a picture of a cute little raccoon with its foot caught in a trap. Honestly, that's what it might take. Or it might take a caring, empathetic human being hunter to show them the ropes and educate them about what the shooting, hunting, outdoor sports is all about. Like the dieter who desperately wants to lose weight but has no idea how to exercise, a non-hunter or non-shooter has to be educated before they'll ever have the desire to try this sport. That's one of the reasons why we decided to start the Queen of the Forest Outdoor Education Program, to empower women, to help women make these decisions on their own, to help educate women to be independent and self-sufficient and self-reliant. How many of you women would know what to do Your house is on fire. You're all by yourself. Your 16-year-old son is in there. He happens to be 6'3", knocked unconscious. What do? How do you get him out? You're all by yourself. Do you wait to call 911? What would you do if you got mugged at gunpoint? Well, those of you who took Paxton's class, I know you would know what to do. Because my husband has been so outspoken, sometimes too much so, about protecting hunters' rights and protecting our right to own guns. We've had death threats by animal rights activists who think that we shouldn't have the right to choose whether or not we want to eat meat or drink milk. And we've had death threats from anti-gun organizations who feel that we shouldn't have the opportunity to choose whether or not we want to protect ourselves. They think that calling 911 is enough. Let me tell you a story about 911. One time when Ted was out of town, which happens quite often, I was by myself, and I have, with Rocco, who is 6 now, and I have a pretty elaborate, around 1 o'clock in the morning, the phone rings. And I also have to tell you, we have a gate, a chain link fence. Okay, so somebody's out there. I turn on the TV, which has a monitor at the gate, and I can see what's there, a truck, a car, a person, what. Like if the UPS man comes and it's really the guy on a bike, I can tell. Well, by the time I got the TV on and looked at the monitor, there was no one there. So I thought, okay, maybe it was just some kids driving by and they just wanted to pull a prank. So I turned off the TV and tried to go back to sleep. About 20 minutes later, which would be about the time it would take for somebody to walk up our driveway, which is about a half mile long, I heard a noise against the house. Our dogs started barking. We have 5 dogs. Dogs started barking. I heard a noise against the house, which all I can describe to you sounded like a body shoving up against the house, okay, underneath my bedroom.